right. Thanks everybody for joining Mindy and I today for our Q2 CPC report. Can you believe it's July 21st already? We're already in H2, second half of the year. Something new you might notice is the Plus Walmart data this time. So we're excited to start sharing more of our other platforms as we scale those. If you want to go to the next slide, we're going to do a quick agenda. So what's new? We're going to do some key takeaways, Q2 results and insights, Q&A. You guys know us. Keep the questions coming. We'll get to them at the end. And looking forward to today's presentation. So hopefully you all know Mindy and I, Melissa Burdick, president and co-founder of Patio, Mindy Fashaw, COO of Patio. Together, we spent 20 years at Amazon together. So now here we are at Patio, leading the charge. And for those of you who don't know us, we're an enterprise platform for brands, sellers, and agencies to help manage their e-commerce advertising and beyond. And really excited to talk to you guys today. So not just Amazon, Boston Consulting Group came out recently with an article that talks about the 100 billion media opportunity for retailers, the next media Mongols. And this is kind of a sampling of the retailers that we offer through our platform. So Amazon on Walmart, of course, Instacart, eBay. And then if you don't have your own self-serve ad platform, you can launch pretty quickly through Criteo and Citrus. And of course, we heard some big news this week with Citrus ads that Publicis bought them, and they are expected to be kind of a standalone with an Epsilon. So interested to see how that plays out. But if you're interested in Best Buy or Meijer or GoPuff or any of these great retailers, they're all available through the PackView platform. All right, on to the latest and greatest news. So e-commerce growth is still expected to outpace pre-pandemic. So this is an eMarketer report. In-store is growing 6.3%. E-commerce is growing 17.9% this year. In talking to some clients, kind of what we're hearing is that return to shopping in store has picked up actually more than expected, which is kind of interesting. But you know, every day we hear about Delta variants, and then also, you know, kids under 12 are still not vaccinated and will return to school this year without being vaccinated. So just still a big question in our minds about what does happen. So just, you know, have to continue to be nimble and keep our eye on that data. And in terms of e-commerce sales expectations, so Walmart has really been investing in their e-commerce growth. There's also a big emphasis on marketplace e-commerce growth as well. So another kind of fast fact from eMarketer. And then we always like to talk about what's new in advertising, because Amazon likes to keep all of us on our toes with a bunch of new features and updates each quarter. So this quarter, sponsored brand video product targeting inventory is appearing on detail pages. This is cool because sponsored brand video, or just video in general, has been converting really well. So we're excited to see more placements for that. Sponsored display is also a huge initiative for Amazon. And so we're seeing a lot more features and functionality launched there. So advertisers in India can now use this, can now use audiences. There's custom bid optimizations, sponsored display ads launched on Twitch, which is the gaming platform. And then you can also target Amazon Fresh shoppers with sponsored display. We have a nice article on our blog about that one. So if you're a freshie, is that a word? Check out our blog. And then cross-country auto targeting sponsored product campaign. So basically sellers and vendors advertising in the UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain can kind of use auto targeting campaigns for one, and it goes out to all the multiple countries, which is nice. And then a couple more things around Amazon Fresh in-store attribution has launched, and Twitch audiences are now available to advertisers worldwide through the audience builder in DSP. So that's kind of a wrap up of Q2 with lots of new features and functionality. Each quarter they're launching more. You can kind of see this focus on sponsored display. That's been a big initiative, Twitch and video.
Great, thanks, Melissa. So before we dive into the state of the state, which will be, you know, heavily influenced by Prime Day moving up to June this year, I just wanted to ask you, what was your favorite Prime Day purchase?
favorite, or like maybe I'll talk about my most unique purchase this
There we go.
year. And I will say that I know you and I are very different in how we shop, but Amazon has become this just like, every grid is a deal, hard to find the deals that you want. So I've kind of leaned more heavily on influencers to curate deals for me, driving to Amazon. And that's really how I shop Prime Day this year and continue to kind of shop Amazon in general, and especially within fashion and those kind of areas. But an interesting purchase was the swimsuit brand Cupshe, which I love. It's kind of a cheap but fashion forward brand that started as a direct to consumer digitally native brand, but now has expanded to Amazon for more traffic. But I bought a bathing suit. Of course, it didn't fit and I have to return it, which is pretty typical for that industry. But that was the first time that I noticed that Cupshe has been on Amazon and they were participating in Prime Day this year. What about you? What'd you buy?
So as you said, we're both very different. I personally have a little bit of Prime Day burnout. I don't follow the influencers like you do. So my purchases were super boring. I just bought some protein powder and protein snacks that I would have bought anyways. And then I bought a $5 really nice quality set of tongs because I had to throw a pair of tongs away the night before. Like, so boring. So I've got some homework to do on how to be a more interesting Prime Day shopper.
I'll show you later. We can do a webinar on that.
Perfect. All right, so let's dive into the state of the state. So some key takeaways for Q2 Amazon focused results. No surprise, ad spend continues to grow, was up 82% year over year, driven by Prime Day. So looking at the monthly average daily spend increases, what we saw was month over month for June, average daily spend increased for both ad types. That being said, sponsored products was definitely the winner in terms of increased spend. So a 32% increase month over month in average daily spend, which compares to 2.9% month over month increase in 2020. So just trying to give you order of magnitude on how big June was from a spend perspective on sponsored products. And then while sponsored brands did increase by 14.6% month over month, it wasn't an outlier when compared to 2020, where you saw a month over month increase of 13.6 in June for sponsored brands. So just a 1 percentage point month over month increase, which means, for Prime Day, sponsored products really were the winner in terms of capturing budgets. And then again, fueled by Prime Day, seeing that average daily spend on sponsored product ads. So this is really a quarterly number. We saw an increase of 12% quarter over quarter and 38% year over year. To no surprise, the term face masks has fallen out of the top 12 search queries for the first time since April of 2020. Maybe I'm naive, and my hope is that that's because everybody's stocked up and they have plenty, but more likely it's probably because mask restrictions have been loosened and people are wearing masks less and less. And then lastly, seeing us return to some more normal seasonal trends when it comes to things like summer dresses, Mother's Day gifts, and then fidget toys continue to be kind of a top search term. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. So moving over to top search terms, poppets and fidget toys remain in the top search items. I want to apologize. We don't have the full Q2 search term view this quarter. So we've just got the first 2 months of the quarter. So we just carried over March of Q1 so that you can really just see that trend, the monthly trend. So thanks to TikTok, poppets and fidget toys continue to remain in the top search terms and most purchased items. Also, another TikTok trend appearing in the top 25 search terms, with chlorophyll quickly rising to spots 21 and 31 in April and then dropping off rapidly. Likely people preparing to detox and lose some weight, as we've seen in some news articles, as they're expecting to go back to an office at least part-time. And then this is pure speculation on my part. I am not a fan of Crocs. So I'm hopeful that we're just seeing Crocs in the top search results because people are just wearing them in their yards, my husband included. And then summer dresses, kind of the obvious, people returning a bit to normal, getting out a bit more, and also, getting together with people more, whether that's at their house or outside of their house. As we mentioned on the previous slide, people are really looking to return to normal. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in some of the search term trends. but really, I think, sorry, I'm distracted by my note at the top that we didn't delete, but that's okay. I wanted to include June, but we weren't able to, unfortunately. But really, it's interesting to see that desks and gaming chairs are still in the top search results. And I think what that really comes down to is, last year people were, not sure how long they'd be working from home. And now companies are starting to make decisions in terms of what the future state of a work from home or, come back to an office looks like. And so I think people are, prepared to be working from home more for the long haul. And then diving into some of the KPIs specifically. So conversion and CPCs are mostly up year over year due to Prime Day, with sponsored product CPCs in June reaching the highest to date. Again, that's based on PacView's client CPC historical data. So for June, sponsored product CPCs actually reached $1.34. And that makes Q2 the highest CPC quarter for sponsored products seen in the history of PacView's data set at $1.22. Out of stocks last year really lowered conversion rates, so we're seeing some rebound there. And then conversion rate seems to be growing and maintaining. And then sponsored brand ROAS down 26% as CPG brands and more products are moving toward this advertising type. And then obviously, we saw a big jump in ad spend for June. So sponsored product spend up 12% quarter over quarter, 38% year over year. And then sponsored brand spend 9% quarter over quarter, and then 82% year over year. We're continuing to see ad spend grow in lawn and garden. We were a little bit surprised by this data, just knowing that, last year, people were more focused on, improving their house renovations, their yards. This year, we're speculating that people are just continuing on that trend, but more inclined to host people at their houses this year. And you can really see last year, this category was hindered a bit by the essential, non-essential decision that was made around April timeframe last year. So really, this is just, we're comping a soft year last year. And then some of these are just some top products that were either top searches or best sellers in the category this year. So outdoor lights is a popular one. Click-through rate is continuing to improve. So this is across all categories. Sponsored product click-through rate up 6% quarter over quarter, down 17% year over year, which I'll talk about in just a second here. And then also sponsored brand click-through rate up both quarter over quarter and year over year at 7% and 9% respectively. So year over year sponsored product click-through rate, likely due to Prime Day moving into Q2, especially in the lead up days to Prime Day, you see a lot of people browsing, but not converting. And then sponsored product CPCs surpassed that of Q4. So what we're really seeing here is that every key drive period is just becoming more and more competitive versus the previous key drive period. So sponsored product CPCs up 7% quarter over quarter and 36% year over year. Obviously, cost going up is a bad thing, which is why those numbers are in red. But sponsored products actually saw a 4% decrease quarter over quarter, but again, up 18% year over year. So both ad types becoming more expensive over time. And then looking at home and kitchen, there's a lot of comping of out of stocks last year, especially with that non-essential designation that I mentioned earlier. And then combined with some massive Prime Day increases seen in June of this year. We don't have good product level data in terms of what the top searches were, top purchases were last year. But these are some of the top items that we saw this year. And then sponsored brand conversion rate is declining. So from a sponsored product perspective, it was essentially flat quarter over quarter, up year over year, which is great. From a sponsored brand perspective, down quarter over quarter and year over year. Again, from some of the data that we're seeing, sponsored brand placements just aren't as effective during key drive periods such as Prime Day. So we really attribute these results to that. And then cost per acquisition for both ad types was also the highest in the history of PacView data. So for the month of June, sponsored product ads saw the highest monthly CPA in PacView's data history, where sponsored brands saw the second highest month in June for CPA, only second to October of 2020, which was Prime Day of last year. So sponsored product cost per acquisition up 8% quarter over quarter and 10% year over year. Sponsored brand up 9% quarter over quarter, and a lot more expensive year over year at 31%. ROAS, we're continuing to see ROAS continue to come down on a year-over-year basis. So sponsored product ROAS up slightly at 2% quarter over quarter, but then down pretty significantly, 10% year over year. Similar trend on sponsored brand with ROAS up quarter over quarter at 4% and down 26% year over year. I liken this to two things. One, likely increased competition, as we all know. But two, we're seeing brands within our client portfolio becoming more sophisticated in their strategies. So we talk a lot about, leveraging efficiency KPIs as guardrails, but really making sure that you're focused on driving those core business objectives. So we're seeing more and more brands incorporate that into their strategies, focusing more on driving top line sales, share of voice, share of shelf, et cetera. And then obviously, like I mentioned, using those efficiency KPIs as more of guardrails as they're trying to achieve those business objectives. And then before I kick it over to Melissa to talk Walmart, just one interesting trend. So, we saw a lot of demand in toys last year with everybody buying puzzles and looking for ways to hunker down with their families and keep themselves entertained. So seeing a significant decrease in return on ad spend year over year, roughly a 35% decline year over year, as people are looking to get outside more this year. And you can see that by some of the top. So the bottom one is a puzzle from last year, but the top two on the right, those are more the trends of what people are purchasing this year. So even though they fall into the toys category, the trend is showing more that people are looking to get outside rather than hunker down inside this year. So with that, Melissa, I'll kick it over to you for our first look at Walmart.
Awesome. All right. We're so excited to start bringing more and more data to play and to start comparing everything across each other. So we do have a report in Patio that does bring in all the marketplaces, Amazon, Walmart, Target, whatever you're working on, into one place. So you can start seeing your performance metrics. Big brands, as we all know, enterprise brands really don't plan that way. They kind of plan per platform. But by bringing this all in together, I mean, everyone's different. Niche brands are a little bit more budget fluid. But this way, you can at least start seeing your performance and your metrics all in one place to start comparing apples to apples, which is really cool. All right, so ad spend reached new highs with deals for days. So Walmart, as we all know, launched deals for days. It was June 20th to 23rd. Prime Day was June 21st to 22nd. And you can kind of just see the average daily ad spend increased a lot. It was 56% increase quarter over quarter. On the next slide, one of the things that our CPG clients have been asking Walmart forever for the last year is, hey, can we get pickup and delivery inventory? And so on March 1st of this year, Walmart rolled out pickup delivery ad placements for all sponsored product campaigns. And with that increase in inventory, we saw CPCs have been able to stay pretty low. And our CPG clients really did increase their budget significantly when that inventory opened up. We did kind of a case study of CPG brand, a select amount of CPG brands when this did happen. So post-merger would be after the online pickup delivery inventory increases. And you can see that, so we ran a study pre and post-merger, and you can just see a really good impact. So clicks went up, click-through rates went up, CPCs went down, sales went up, ROAS went up. So like across the board, really good metrics when the ad inventory increased to online pickup deliveries. So kind of a good case for these guys to increase their budgets and see good benefit from that.
And to no surprise, Melissa, with pickup and delivery, we didn't include this KPI on the slide, but we did see a dramatic decrease in average selling price. I think it was somewhere around 100% decrease in ASP. Again, no surprise with pickup and delivery, but still some really great efficiency KPIs when that inventory opened up.
Yeah. And then, so another good trend that we're seeing is increased click-through rate. Again, the best way to use this data is to kind of benchmark against your own. And so, of course, Yes, so the question that you're asking, can you please share this deck? We'll share the deck, we'll share data, and then that way you can really compare it against your own and see where you're at. So happy to do that. And then on the next slide, ROAS also increasing. On the next slide,
Sorry.
maybe.
My down arrow is not working. Let me just, there we go.
All right, there we go.
Sorry about that.
Is the inverse of ACOS, of course. I was saying in the chat, like nobody but Amazon uses ACOS, so we just kind of like to speak to ROAS because it's, you know, just the industry standard. They actually now, they do put ROAS in there. So ROAS increased 6% quarter over quarter and 151% year over year. So good trends that we're seeing on the Walmart front. And then on our last slide, so kind of what to look out for in the months ahead. So Walmart is in the process of unifying their .com and pickup delivery platforms into one. Seasonal shopping behaviors have returned, so really preparing now for Q3 and Q4. We're still seeing some good first mover advantage remaining on Walmart with low CPCs, increasing ROAS, and kind of low competition, which of course you can leverage some KPIs like share of voice to really track what is happening in your category. And retail media continues to grow across all sectors. Now, I'm going to say one more thing, totally not sanctioned by Walmart. When I ask our Walmart partners, they kind of have a straight face. But I did hear from, and I can't remember who it was in the market, so maybe it's a rumor, but I've heard that Walmart may be launching a second price bid auction in the fall. So that's rumor mill on the street. Again, not sanctioned by Walmart. They did not tell me that. But that would be cool because we saw when Instacart moved from first price to second price bid auction, a lot of improvements in their KPIs. And it is like the two things that we've asked Walmart is, can you increase inventory with online pickup delivery? They did that. And we always ask them, can you have a second price bid auction, which they've straight face not said anything about. So prediction, maybe not the next report, but maybe the one after that, we'll be talking about this. So I don't know if anyone in the chat has heard the same thing, but that's what we're hearing.
The other thing I would say just on that Walmart pickup and delivery and .com merger that's happening right now, our understanding is that it's happening over a couple of month period. So be on the lookout if you're browsing the Walmart site. You know, you might be one of the beta users that get that site experience. We've come across it a couple times on our end as well. So, you know, no real prediction here in terms of what impact, if any, it'll have on ads, given that they've already opened up those ad placements. But just kind of stay tuned. And again, you might see that experience along the way. So as Melissa mentioned, we will share out this report. So you'll be able to find it on our website. And then lastly, any questions? Obviously, we'll hop over to the Q&A in a second here. But if you'd like to contact us after this conversation, you can reach us at sales@pacview.com, or you can go to our website at www.pacview.com. Great.
It's a quiet group. No questions. We must have just done such a great job during the presentation that nobody has any questions. Like we said, best thing to do is kind of benchmark your own performance. Oh, we got a question. Let's go for it. Let's see. Can you tell me more about Walmart ads? Best practices.
What product category are we talking here, just to give us a little? Okay, well, without a specific product category. Okay, oh, jewelry, interesting. So this was the recommendation I was going to make anyways, but you know, my recommendation would be start with auto campaigns. Those campaigns are heavily driven by the backend algorithm. We at PacView, if we're launching a Walmart strategy, we tend to heavily weight our initial campaign structure toward those auto campaigns because there's a lot to be learned from those campaigns. And then as you take those learnings, continue to audit, and that's where you can get more strategic in some of the manual campaigns that you break out, looking at top keywords, et cetera. So, you know, my best advice, especially in some of the non-CPG categories, is to really start with auto campaigns and then learn from there and branch out in terms of your manual approach.
And we have a question about how much was retail media up in the quarter for Criteo. We're so in early days of Criteo. We don't have enough scale, and we're literally like onboarding and like kind of getting things going with Criteo. So and they're kind of slowly launching more and more retailers. So we're hoping that maybe next time we'll have some more data for you on the Criteo platform. But right now we're still not at quite the scale to be able to share too much benchmark data on them yet, but we're hoping.
Yeah. And then next question, generally, are shopper ads becoming more expensive and competitive? I would say the initial response to that is yes, absolutely. I think, we definitely are continuing to see that on Amazon. We saw it on Instacart. We have an example or a portfolio of clients that saw essentially CPCs increase by 4x within the first 12 months of advertising on Instacart. So, I think the key takeaway there is it's really important to be a first mover, get in early, get those learnings while they're a lot cheaper. And also some of these platforms getting in early, it does give you that first mover advantage, especially when it comes to things like getting on shopping lists, where we know on Instacart, after the 10th purchase, many people are starting their shopping from those lists. Anything you wanted to add to that, Melissa?
No, that's true. There's another question. So is it safe to assume the keywords we use on Amazon are the same keywords we would want to use on Walmart?
I think that's a safe place to start. It's a pretty fair assumption, especially if you're focused on head keywords. But that doesn't always mean that you're going to see similar performance and similar consumer behavior. At the end of the day, the Walmart consumer and the Amazon consumer are different. And so, a lot of times we leverage our Amazon strategy to inform our strategies across other platforms. But again, we do it while we're carefully auditing and making sure that, we're seeing the efficacy of our strategy.
The other thing I would add to that one is that Amazon really lets you conquest, and you can pay to play however much you want. Walmart is much more conservative. I do think, did they already do this? I think they increased the 128 grids where you can show up to 256 or something like that. Is that true? Do you remember?
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
It might be true, but I hadn't heard that.
Can't remember, rumor or not. Maybe I'll find out by the next time. But Walmart's a lot more conservative in what they allow in terms of conquesting. So that's just one thing to know in the Walmart piece. But it is a good idea to start you can mine and use your Amazon data. But the one thing I'd caution is not using your strategies across all these retail media platforms. And that's why we're really focused on building out strategic playbooks and helping you understand the nuances across these platforms so that you're already up to speed as you onboard and understand things like what I just said about Walmart. Is Walmart going to launch display and video ads soon? We've asked about the displays, and I think that it is on their roadmap, but they're very cautious about any dates that they give us. So they don't like to give us dates, but I do think that will be coming. I think we could just really look at the Amazon playbook and know that is like something to be launched across all these retail media platforms. It's just a question of when. And as soon as we get clear dates, usually the rumor mill is better than our retail partners in terms of what we can, hear, but we'll share that with you as soon as we find out.
So Melissa, we have a couple of questions from Robbie, which I'll just combine them. So as a seller, where should I focus on selling, Amazon or Walmart? Where can I have better revenue and ROAS? And then the second part of that is, with more and more products and sellers joining Amazon and Amazon having limited ad inventory, will the CPCs ever come down? So let me take a first stab at that, if you don't mind, and then you can chime in if you want to. My advice would be not an either or, but both, right? You want to be where the consumer for your products are. And my guess is it's both on Amazon and Walmart. I would also say, Walmart is really increasing their focus on sellers and on marketplace. And again, when it comes to being a first mover, it's really important to get in there early and get some of those cheaper learnings early on. So, Melissa mentioned that we do have in our platform the ability to compare KPIs across platforms. That's not necessarily meant to say this one performs better, so put all your eggs in one basket. It's really meant to understand the behaviors across different platforms and how some of the performance compares to one another. But I would say ultimately you should be, for the most part, wherever the bulk of your consumers are. So my recommendation would be to do both. And then, the question around, competition, CPCs coming down, more products, more sellers, et cetera. I mean, we have seen Amazon continue to increase their ad inventory over time. So, will they monetize more of their site? potentially, and likely yes to some extent. CPCs coming down, that's a different conversation. I think it really just comes down to, how advanced do brands become with their strategies, or advertisers, I should say, really. We like to recommend, there's a lot of efficient clicks to be had on the Amazon platform, but it really comes down to taking a diversified approach, not always needing to be top of search in some of those most expensive placements. So, leveraging product targeting, which is now available across all of Amazon's ad types, and really conquesting, competitor detail pages. We get really granular in our strategies, where if we've got, clients with good, more consumable items that are paired with other items, we'll scan the deals page and we'll go run ads targeting the items on deals. So there's lots of cool things that brands can do to look for cheaper clicks on Amazon. So my recommendation there would not be to shift your dollars. It would be to get more strategic in how you drive efficiencies in your strategy.
Yeah, I think if you just look at the same keyword, I mean, just the trends, like the normal trend over time, because there's more people coming in, there's higher bid density and things like that, like CPCs will increase, performance will go down. But that's why, to Mindy's point, being able to find the efficiencies, being able to find smarter targeting strategies is how you can best win and get, like product targeting. You can target products that have higher ASP and worse rated reviewed products than you. So like there's really smart ways that you can start leveraging paid media to get in front of customers, and that way you can have the best performance.
And then we have another question from Juliet. How do I best optimize my manual campaigns? I assume she's talking Walmart. This is not meant to be a plug for PackView, but leveraging, PPC software that has lots of optimization levers is probably your best bet. You can do day parting, you can modify, bids based on different parameters. So leveraging technology if you're not already, and then again, auditing your strategy, diving in, looking for pockets of efficiency, and then kind of doubling down on what's working and shifting away from what's not working. Yeah.
And then Matson has this question: does Walmart have attribution of in-store purchases? There is. Isn't there an attribution in their API? There's something about attribution in there.
Not that I'm aware of from in-store yet.
Okay. So I thought that there was some KPI metric around that, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to get back to you on that one. But
yeah, and you can honestly feel free to follow up by just sending me an email, mindy@packview.com. I can get with the team and figure out if that's enabled or not. All right.
I want to make a single dashboard of AMS data from 5 of my sellers. Is there a way I can do that? Yes, Ravi, you can use PackView. That's what we do. Call us.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this deck will be sent out to everyone that registered. Send it to your teams. Like us on LinkedIn. We often post all of our content and our articles. We try to keep the community informed. We're actually in the process of building out a Walmart bootcamp for training, and we plan on doing that for each platform. So we're really excited about getting to the practitioner level of best practices and tips and tricks. And we would love your feedback about what kind of training you need, what you're interested in. So please contact us, because we're really interested in educating the community and keeping the conversation going. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, everyone.